A deal is done on press regulation. Last-minute talks produce a new independent regulator. It comes after all-night negotiations between the three main parties. David Cameron says it guarantees a free press.
It supports our great traditions of investigative journalism and free speech. It protects the rights of the vulnerable and the innocent.
Victims of the phone hacking scandal told the Leveson inquiry it was time to get tough with the press. So will the watchdog work?
That is what is eventually put in place, then I think Lord Justice Leveson's inquiry will have been well worthwhile.
And what do the newspapers think about the deal? We'll have their reaction. Also tonight. Anger in Cyprus over plans for a tax on savings. Banks are shut till Thursday amid fears over deposits. Tributes to the father and son whose weekend away ended in a tragic accident. Peter and Charlie Saunders found dead in Chamonix.
We're very good with animals. Hello, little pussy.
Frank Thornton, who starred as Captain Peacock in Are You Being Served, dies at 92.
And coming up in sport on the BBC News channel, Rio Ferdinand has pulled out of the England squad for their World Cup qualifiers within the next week. But he insists he still wants to play for his country again.
Good evening and welcome to the BBC's News at 6. There's to be a major change in the way the press is regulated after the three main Westminster parties struck a deal in the early hours of the morning. It follows the Leveson inquiry, which called for an independent regulator in England and Wales. Victims of the phone...
Without shackling that free press.
Now we can talk to Nick, who's at Westminster now. Nick, so a deal has been done, as we've been saying, and they're all trying to claim credit for it.
It reminds you, doesn't it, George, of the day after by-election, when even the losers, even the people who come forth, are telling you they're really the winners. The truth is, on this issue, though, David Cameron simply does not have a parliamentary majority. No victory on press regulation unless the newspapers agree to cooperate, and they have yet to make up their minds.
Nick, thanks very much. And if you want to know more about what the planned changes will mean for press regulation, you can go to the BBC's website. That's at bbc.co.uk/news. Banks in Cyprus are to remain closed until at least Thursday as the government seeks to revise the details of a plan
in the Eurozone. Gavin Hewitt, BBC News, Nicosia.
And our business editor, Robert Peston, is with me now. Robert, am I right in thinking this is the first time savers have been hit by a deal like this?
That's exactly right. I mean, this is a £5.8 billion raid on depositors' money, and we haven't seen anything like this since the great crisis, financial crisis, started in most of the developed world in 2007 to 2000.
Now the time is 18 minutes past 6. Our top story this evening. A deal's done on press regulation. Last-minute talks between the main Westminster party leaders produce a new watchdog. And still to come. They were made in Britain, but can UK engineering live up to its illustrious past?
And coming up later in the hour on the...
10 years on from the start of the war in Iraq, thousands of British servicemen and women are still coming to terms with its impact on their lives. 100,000 military personnel beginning at the end of June. The move was announced by the two biggest teaching unions in an ongoing dispute over pay, pensions and workload. Our education correspondent Rita Chakrabarti is with me now. What will this actually mean for schools around the country?
Well, it could eventually mean an all-out strike in the autumn, although unions say if they get a positive response from the government, they will back down. Initially, though, there'll be a series of regional strikes, starting with schools in the northwest of England in June and then extending into the autumn. At the heart of the dispute, as you said...
Who's died aged 92. And that brings us to the weather now with Jay Wynn. Hello.
Thanks, George. Well, it's all been a bit disappointing recently, hasn't it? And I'm afraid there's no real let-up for the rest of this week. Temperatures staying on the low side.
All right, Jay. Thanks very much. Thank you. And that's all from the BBC's News at 6 from our new studio. Now on BBC One, we join the BBC